Okay, folks, welcome back once again to our final video of this course, Organizational Behavior, Griffin and Phillips, 14th edition, Chapter 16, Organizational Change and Change Management. Let's go. Learning outcomes. After studying this chapter, you should be able to summarize the dominant forces for change in organizations, describe the process of planned organization change, discuss several approaches to organization development, explain resistance to change, identify the keys to managing successful organization and change and development, and describe organizational learning. 16.1, Forces for Change. Some of the forces for change include companies need to change appropriately to stay viable. Supply chains change, where you buy things, prices of different things change, cultures change, right? So companies need to change in order to, so to speak. Global environment is ever changing. 4 major forces affecting change: people change; technology changes; information processing and communication is a type of technological change; and then competition, which is a sort of variation on people, but other organizations are changing. Pressures for organization change. Some examples: people, different generations, X, Y, Z, millennials, global labor supply, senior citizens, workforce diversity. Include things like demands for different types of training, demands for different types of benefits or workplace arrangements. Young people to be able to work from home at least some of the time. So that's something that younger workers are demanding. Compensation systems, technology, manufacturing in space. Apparently that's a thing, or maybe a thing eventually. Enable design teams. So what does that mean? More education and training for workers at all levels, more new products moved faster to market. Processing and communication. This includes things like computers, satellite communication, video conferencing, social networking. So faster reaction times, immediate responses to questions, new products, different office arrangements, telecommunicating, different types of marketing, advertising, recruiting on social networking sites. And competition, global markets, international trade agreements, and emerging nations. Global competition meaning more competing products with more features and options, lower costs, higher quality. All right, 16.2. Processes for planned organization change. Lewin's process model. Organizations should approach change as a multi-stage process. So on this model, you kind of go through this freezing, unfreezing process where you're unfreezing the way you're currently doing things to allow some fluidity into the system. And then when you make the changes you want to make, you try to refreeze things to keep them stable. Here's a diagram of that. You've got the old stage. Now you unfreeze. That's the awareness for change. Movement from old state to new state. Refreeze, which is supposed to lock in those new changes. An alternate view is the continuous change process model. This incorporates the forces for change, a problem-solving process, a change agent, and transition management. Takes a top management perspective that perceives the need for change and then generates and selects alternatives. Change agent, a person responsible for managing a change effort. Transition management, the process of systematically planning, organizing, and implementing change. Okay. Here we have our little model view of continuous change. So a continuous change process model incorporates the forces for change, a problem-solving process, a change agent, and transition management. It takes a top management perspective and highlights the fact that in organizations today, change is a continuous process, right? So we'll zoom in a little bit if we can. So you've got our forces for change, which lead to recognizing, defining the problem. And the change agent on this model is sort of at the center of all this, affecting things at each stage. He's the one recognizing and defining the problem, he or she. They're the one, initiating this problem-solving process, implementing a change. The transition management is also a part of that, although the change agent probably should be an arrow going back and forth there. Measure, evaluate, and control. It's a sort of continuous process ongoing. Okay, 16.3, organization. OD is a system-wide application of behavioral science knowledge to the planned development and reinforcement of organizational strategies, structures, and processes for improving an organization's effectiveness. Structural change is a system-wide organizational development involving a major restructuring of the organization or instituting programs such as quality of work life, rearrangement of task division, authority and reporting relationships. Reengineering and rethinking are two contemporary approaches, affects performance appraisals, rewards, decision-making systems, communication, and information process. So hopefully we're using organizational development to inform structural change, right? If we're making structural changes that go against, a system-wide application of behavioral science knowledge, not great. If we're making structural changes that do go along with that stuff, that's probably going to be good. Okay. Walton's characterization of quality of work-life programs. Quality of work-life programs can be categorized into 8 types. The expected benefits of these programs are increased employee morale, productivity, and organizational effectiveness. So these are some things that we want to make sure, a lot of times organizations are changing to try and get better at these things, right? Adequate and fair compensation, safe and healthy work environment, growth and security, constitutionalism, total life space, social integration, and development of human capacities. So obviously, change can be focused on, lowering manufacturing costs or, increasing profit. But aside from those basic things, we're changing to try and focus on these things, which it's kind of the alternate route to. So you can sort of directly work to, or you can kind of indirectly work to increase profits by improving various quality of life programs. Technological change, task redesign is the direct alteration of tasks involved in doing the work, the technology, or both. Technological change, changing how inputs are transformed into outputs. Integrated framework that reflects the complexities of the interfaces between individual jobs and the total organization. Integrated framework for implementation of task redesign in organizations. Step 1, recognition of a need for change. Step 2, selection of task redesign as a potential intervention. Step 3, diagnosis of the work system and context. This includes diagnosis of existing job, existing workforce, technology, organizational design, leader behavior, group and social. Step 4, cost-benefit analysis, proposed changes. Step 5, go, no-go decision. Step 6, formulation of the strategy for redesign. 7, implementation of the task changes. 8, implementation of any supplemental changes. 9, evaluation of the task redesign effort. So this sounds like a lot of different steps. It's basically all fairly straightforward things. If you're thinking of changing something, more or less you have to do all these things. You have to evaluate the problem, evaluate possible solutions, decide if you want to pursue them, formulate a strategy pursuing them, and then try and implement your strategy. And then you evaluate the whole thing at the end to see if it worked or not. Group and individual change. We've got people-oriented change techniques, so training to improve employees' job skills. Management development, foster certain skills and abilities and perspectives. And team building, used when interaction among group members is critical for success. And survey feedback, getting feedback via surveys from employees or even customers can be useful for change. Here would be the survey feedback process. Gather data either through interviews, observing, or distribution of survey questionnaire. Review the results, identify problems, examine various group processes, develop plans for improvements. 4, resistance to change. Resistance to change is one of the most fundamental psychological principles of human beings. We don't like to change. And that, you know why? Because deep down, people are incredibly anxious, all of us. We're afraid of dying, if nothing else, even though it may not look like it. And change is something that produces anxiety in people. So people are always resistant to change, whether it's a new kind of music, a new way of dressing, a new food, a new cultural idea, certainly moral standards, political standards, all that stuff. Immigration, changing population dynamics, all that stuff freaks people out. So changing an organization also freaks people out. People start wondering, am I going to lose my job? Am I going to be able to do the new thing? Here's this new system. What if I'm not good at it? What if they want new people to do it and not me? What if I don't like it as much, right? All that uncertainty makes people go, and makes people be like, no, right? Resistance to change paradox. Organizations invite change when change offers a competitive advantage. Organizations resist change when change threatens the organization's structure and control systems. Organizations must balance stability with the need to react to external shifts. Resistance can warn of the need to re-examine the need for change. There are organizational and individual sources of resistance to change. Sources: overdetermination, narrow focus, group inertia, threatened expertise, threatened power, and resource allocation. And some examples are employment system, job descriptions, valuation, reward system, organizational culture. Structure change with no concern given to other issues like jobs or people. Group norms are the way in which group inertia functions. People move out of their area of expertise when change happens sometimes. Decision-making threatens those in power. Part-time help could be a way of changing resource allocation. Habit, security, economic factors, fear of the unknown, lack of awareness, or social factors. Right? All various reasons why people don't like change. When I'm trying to get my kids to eat new foods, I always remind them, humans don't like change. Our brain tends to reject anything that's different. So you got to give it a try. You got to give it some time. Now eat that broccoli. Okay. 16.5, managing successful organizational change and development. Keys to managing successful organizational change and development. Key 1, consider global issues. Impact. Keep in touch with the latest global developments and how change is handled in different cultures. Key 2, take a holistic view of the organization. Helps anticipate the effects of change on the social system and culture. Key 3, start small. Work out details and show the benefits of the change to those who might resist. Key 4, secure top management. Impact, get dominant coalition on the side of change. Safeguard structural change, heads off problems of power and control. Key 5, encourage participation by those affected by the change. Minimize transition problems of control, resistance, and task redefinition. Foster open communication. That is, minimize transition problems and resistance in information control systems. And then reward those who contribute to change, minimize transition problems of resistance and control systems. 16.6, organizational learning. Learning organization. What is a learning organization? A learning organization is one that facilitates the learning of all its members and continuously transforms itself. Continual learning and change are part of the culture. Learning must happen during a project and after the project ends. After action reviews encourage continual learning. So this is like, you take some action, some new project, some new product launch, and then you conduct an after action review. What was supposed to happen? What happened? Why were there differences? What did we learn? Right? So any organization can be a learning organization if it continually tries to improve and learn from its mistakes. Obviously, it is good to be a learning organization. And, for some organizations, like say you make steel bolts or something, right? I mean, there's not, that organization is relatively stable. People are always going to need steel bolts. Now, there could be occasionally be new technology that comes along, but typically that's like a more stable kind of thing. We do one thing, we know how to do it, we just keep doing it efficiently. For other organizations, like a tech company, it's much more important to be a learning organization. Okay, wow, that brings us to the end of this chapter, the end of this course. Hopefully you have learned some useful things that will help prepare you for your entry into the world of work, maybe some useful things you learned about yourself, all the different personality tests, reinforce some of your learning from earlier psychology classes like general psychology. And yeah, good luck and everything. And hope maybe we'll meet somewhere down the road. All right.